Aleph Holdings is a partnership group based out of the Twin Cities. We have some companies we wholly own here in the Twin Cities area, but we also are partnered with over 11 right now painting companies nationally, and that grows every single month. And we like to focus on scaling residential painting companies and commercial painting companies. Aleph, a lot of people get it wrong. They say Aleph, Alepha, but it's actually Aleph. And Aleph means the strength of the ox. A lot of times we use that ox metaphor when we talk about yoking up. And so that ox, when it yokes up with another ox, it's not 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 actually equals a lot more than 2. There's more power in that. And so you can do a lot more together. First partnership for Aleph was Paris Painting. So before all of Aleph existed, there was Paris Painting. Jason had built the business to a little over $1 million and was looking for the next step. He actually partnered with Chet Funk. And Chet really brought a lot of visionary aspects to the business, and together they grew it a lot greater than where Jason brought it by himself. And that's really where we get started with our first partnership thinking.
Paris Painting is an 8-figure business. We're the largest house painting company in Minnesota, and we've doubled the business size the last 3 years. Although I'm one of the co-founding members of Aleph Holdings, my business of Paris Painting was the first one impacted by the partnership. Paris Painting was not built by a single individual, it was built by a committee. Some of the ways that Aleph Holdings help step in is they have specialists in each of the key areas to help drive a business. I think of myself as a high-performing individual, but I'm not a miracle worker. I'm not as good as a committee of highly skilled people, and I can only do so much. There's also the decisions of how much do I want to take on individually. So when you first start a business, I was very game on to make the personal sacrifices for things to happen. As we continue to grow and scale and have some success, I was much less desiring to make those personal sacrifices. I'd much rather let other people step in.
Well, Jason and my relationship began in 2005 when I became a franchise manager in College Pro Painting, and Jason was my very first hire. It didn't take me long to realize how unique Jason was, as it was not uncommon for him to show up to the job sites well before the sun rose, and he was often bailing me out of pretty big production issues. Back then, I used to tell Jason he was just like an ox, because I'd never met anybody that had more work ethic or endurance as Jason Paris. Our friendship grew outside of the painting company, and eventually we both graduated from business school thinking we would never return to the painting industry. Fast forward to 2015, Jason had recently started Paris Painting after leaving corporate America, and I had just been watching from a distance as a friend. It wasn't until the beginning of 2017 that we inked our partnership deal and I joined in full time. Our first year together, we had set the revenue growth at a very modest target, but really wanted to focus on fixing the production margin in the company. As the year unfolded, the business nearly doubled in size and the production margin issues were resolved. We were in business.
Paris Painting was the first business that we applied this model to, so we were building as we go. We built a foundation, we perfected the systems, we developed successors, and then we got ready to build the next company. Some of the first things we did is help the right people get in the right seats. Then we created processes for each role to operate through, and then we leaned in on their skill development to make sure they had the skill they needed to be effective in their role, and they knew how to manage their priorities and their resources. Yeah, inspiration for Aleph. Chet and I were having breakfast at French Meadow and talking about building a holding company and that we should build Paris in a way that we could multiply. And on top of that, I found 4 brothers that I wanted to do life with and wanted to do business with.
So I was working as a director of admissions at a private university. In 2017, I started talking with Chet Funk about what it would look like to come on board to Paris Painting. We were working on another project together and just dreaming about building a little business that worked in the trades. And as we started talking about coming on board to Paris Painting, we had this idea of building Aleph Holdings as well. And so between me, Jason, Chet, we were like, let's do it. And I started selling in Paris Painting in 2018. And so I really got a feel for what it's like to do, 18 estimates a week, understand what it's like to work with lots of different clients. And I really developed a sales skill within the trades. And then in 2019, we all started Aleph Holdings. Alex Kaloff was also a part of that by that point, so it was the four of us that founded it and wrote checks and kicked it off. Once we started Aleph, it was like an idea, and then we built into that as we went, and then we acquired Haven Builders, and then we acquired Paperboy Marketing, and those became our first holdings, as well as the software tool called Wallogy that we were building alongside, and then apartment buildings we were building. So all of that came together to form what Aleph Holding was. And the idea of that in its founding was we want to have a portfolio of trades companies that could serve a portfolio of real estate. And as this has morphed and grown over years, that really hasn't changed a lot, except that we've really focused a lot on painting companies because there's so much work to be done there, and there's so much help that we can come alongside and really make an impact there. So the four of us who initially founded Aleph Holdings, we always knew we needed a spot for somebody who's going to be the financial guy. And in 2020, we brought on Eric Lytle, who became our CFO. And then in 2021, he officially became a member of the board and a partner in Aleph. And that has been kind of what rounded out the 5 board members that run Aleph.
Yeah, I initially came on board with Aleph Holdings. One, because I have a deep desire to put my time and energy into something that I own. And I've actually known the guys at Paris Painting for a long time and seen over the years how this business has grown and become a successful operating company. And so when I found out that a holding company was being birthed out of it, I immediately wanted to join and be a part of growing something from the ground up.
Aleph has grown a lot in the last 5 years. We have 11 plus partnerships across the nation with painting companies. We have over 270 doors, basically developments that we are creating in Minnesota. It's 4 different projects. And that vision of multiple companies that serve a portfolio of real estate is getting really strong and growing every day. The way we look at partnership is it's a lot like a marriage. There's relationship work to be done. And if you're not doing that work, the partnership isn't going to go well. This is not it's just business. It's not a transactional type thing. This is like a commitment to each other to do something together. And when we come together in partnership, our culture is we work on the human element of that. We want to understand each other's personalities. We want to understand how we can help each other come alongside and serve each other's family. That's how we look at partnership. So to all our future venture partners and current venture partners, we value relationship first, working on the relationship. We value the legacy of the company you've built to date and what we can build in the future. And then we value that image of the ox where we come side by side, yoke up with you, and do the hard work at the ground level to make something great happen.
From my lens, there's going to be a ton of opportunity for top talent as we continue to come alongside our partners and help them take these businesses into true assets.
The future of Aleph is bright. In the future, I see Aleph continuing to grow on the 3 different platforms of our holdings, our capital, and our venture arm. I see a path towards 100 partners in the ventures, where we are representing one of the largest segments of the painting industry. I see our partners continuing to cycle and recycle the capital distributions into our capital arm, and a growing portfolio of multifamily developments and real estate ownership.
The future of Aleph is to teach people how to fish. We're very passionate about being asset-minded, and we believe that beginning this process now will have an impact for future generations.
Yeah, the future of Aleph, I think, is pretty big. As we continue to invest in these small businesses and the real estate, I really think there's no end to what we can do and what we can achieve.
The future of Aleph, I always visualize it as a room full of hundreds of people, owners of companies that are coming together, learning, growing together, taking that culture that the 5 of us as we entered into relationship together and partnership together, taking that to a bigger scale. And I see just a room full of owners getting developed and skilled up in a way that makes a huge impact in their communities, builds a legacy for their company, builds a legacy for their families, builds a legacy for the people that work for them. And I think one of the things I see every time somebody looks at Aleph is, oh man, there's a lot of opportunity there for me. And I just never want that to die. And I think I see that growing and scaling for years to come.